Today's video card is a little bit different. I think it's a good idea to show different ways to use your dies that are a little less obvious. Sometimes we want to use a sentiment that doesn't quite fit into our dies, so I think this will show you a fun way that you can get around that little predicament, okay? So to introduce what I'm going to be using in today's video, we have the Stamps to Die For Delicate Deco Square. And this is going to marry up with a couple of the dies from the New York collection. First here I have the Herald Square and the Madison Square. Okay. And then the edge die comes from the Gemini group. It's called the Carina die, and it's so pretty. Wait till you see this one. And just to use around the sentiment, I've got the Copenhagen die from the Scandinavian collection. It's really pretty and lacy, and it's the perfect thing for this. And on our background, we're going to be using the Rambling Blossom embossing folder. This is one of the A4 embossing folders, so you can do the larger pieces of your card. So let me tidy this up and move it out of our way. And I'm going to start with the background. Now, I'm going to use a piece of black card and I'm going to letterpress it. And what I mean by that is to ink up the folder with, in this case, I'm using the Clear Perfect Medium embossing ink. So you can do either side of your folder, that's not a problem, but I prefer the side that's actually got a little more surface to it, and it tends to be the negative side on your folder. So I'm going to just ink this, and it's a clear ink, so you have to kind of watch where you're putting it, and just tap it back and forth, just like if you were inking a rubber stamp. Get it nice and covered. I've got a fairly large square piece of card here, so I'm going to give it a good bit of inking. Make sure that your coverage is really nice. I think that should do the job. Okay, we'll set that aside, and I'm just going to lay that on there gently. Close the folder. Keep that tight. We don't want it moving around. I'm going to take my base plate and my raspberry adapter plate, and we're going to run this through the grand caliper. Now, the grand caliper will transfer the ink from the pressure of it from the folder onto the floor of the card. Okay. So you can see there's a bit of embossing ink. It is clear, but we are going to use some clear embossing powder over the top of that. So there it is. I'm just going to pour that on, and I'm going to have to tap it all around here, so get all the corners of that. Sprinkle it off. There we go. We'll leave that for a second. Let's put this back into our container because we don't need to waste that. Okay. And using our heat tool, we're going to melt this. So you can see as that starts to melt, changes the embossing powder from that sort of white look to a shiny black. It'll take a few minutes just to go through and do the entire piece here. You can see it's the actual floor of the design that you've put the embossing ink and powder on, so the top of the flowers remains with that matte look from the original card. Almost finished. think that looks pretty good. Now, if I'd heated from the bottom, it would have been a smoother look. However, it would have taken a little bit longer. So it's, you know, it's your preference when you do your cards. So I'm going to go ahead and put this onto my base piece. I've gone ahead and pierced around the edge, and I've matted it with some of the colors from the card with a thin periwinkle matte and a black matte, and then a final white matte. Put this into place. Should fit in there just nicely like that. Okay, so I'll set that to the side for the moment. Now, to work on the center, our focal element, I'm going to go ahead and do some die cutting. I've gone ahead and stamped the delicate Deco edge, square, excuse me, and I'm going to go ahead and line the dies up and tape them into place to cut this. And using my removable tape, I'm going to do some inking. So let me get these just about right, and excuse me, I've got to lean in a little to make sure that I'm straight there, and a little bit off there. And then I'm going to tape this one on the inside. Let me just see if I can get that nice and straight. And tape this one as well. Okay. And let's bring in our cutting plates here. That down and run this one through. You'll hear the popping and cracking. That's very normal with dies that are not as detailed, more of a straight cut. Okay. Oh, take that away. Now I want to do some inking, so let me reseat that back into the die. That down on my mat, and I'm going to put this one in place. Pop that down on my mat. Okay. Using some Stormy Sky Distress ink, I'm just going to give this a little bit of a highlight. Holding it in place. There we go. I'll tell you what's really handy to do with this when you have some dies that are a little bit awkward is put them down on a magnetic sheet. That tends to hold them a little stronger. So just give it a tiny bit of inking around the edge here. And it doesn't look like there's actually much ink going on there, but you'd be surprised how much ink actually goes on through those dies. You'll see it when it's taken apart. It's kind of a nice soft edge. Okay, let's get that last little side there. I'm just going in a circular motion with the ink and kind of going back, and let's see, I can add a little bit extra. You can spend time doing it really nicely so it's nice and even around, but you can kind of see the process. So I'll take this apart, and you can see where that ink shows up really, really nicely. Okay, move these out of the way. And we're going to do some cutting to finish off the last part of our edge here using the Carina die. I'm going to bring these over. I've got a strip of coconut white card. Now this Carina die is part of our Gemini line, and it's got a separate edge that has, or has separate cutting edges for either side. They're different, so you can create something that's can be turned one way or another to create a border, or you can do as I'm going to do and cut the entire piece out. So I'm going to use both of my cutting edges for this. So let's just tape this into place. Line that one up. Yeah, it's pretty good right like that. And put another piece of tape on the bottom. That looks nice. There we go. Pop that into place. And right down the side of the cutting mat with the cutting ridges downward, we're going to run this through. These dies are so pretty, and they are such a nice addition to your cards. I think you'll really love them. Let me just pop this out. Now there's the little teeny spot sometimes where the two cutting edges meet that you'll have to tidy with your scissors, but because they're separate, it allows you a little more versatility. Pop this out. Tell you what I'll do. See if I can take the little bits out through the die. Speed this up a little bit with my tool-in-one. And then there'll just be a few that will pop out with a pokey tool here. It looks like it's cut beautifully, so I just need to get these out. In fact, we're going to trim this, so I'm only going to use 3 sections of it anyway, so I'll pop that away. And that looks like it should work just fine for us. I am a little messy, I have to admit, when I craft, but you can see how pretty that is. Isn't that gorgeous? So let me move this out of the way. I've gone ahead and cut 3 more, and I've just used 3 sections of them, and this is around the outside edge of the Madison die, so it's really, really pretty, and it matches up really nicely. I'm going to go ahead and put these in place and use a bit of regular single-sided tape to hold them. I'm going to just lean in a little just to make sure that I've got it exactly where I need it. That looks nice. Pop that into place. Tape that. Let's double check. So I've got a really pretty border going around my square now. Just adds a little extra. So your border dies don't have to be used as borders on your card, but they can be used as accent pieces around other items. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put some mounting foam on this, and we're going to get it all ready. I'm just going to use a couple of pieces on the sides here. And center that right in the middle of that. So you can see the edge of the letterpress background peeking around, which I really, really like. So next thing I'm going to show you, this is the sentiment I wanted to use. It was a simple hello friends, but I thought it looked absolutely dwarfed in that big opening. But I cut one of the Copenhagen dies, and just by simply nipping a little end piece off of each end, that should be enough right there. What you can do is you can put this so it's just clipping around the inside edge here. Just take a second. You get that in there. You can do actually that one, and that one, clipping over the edge of that. Make sure it's nice and centered. I'm going to tape it into place, and then we'll show you. Okay, we'll do the other side. And that fills in all that empty space there and gives you something really pretty to look at too. Let me get all my little holdy hand pieces in place. There and there. There we go. So you can see how that's just going to create a little bit of extra added feature on your sentiment. So I'm going to peel off some mounting foam here, and we'll put it right over that. And I think I'll just add a couple extra pieces to make it nice and secure on the other sides. One there should work. Here's an extra one. Okay, now if you wanted to do a little bit of highlight around your sentiment, you could do that before you put it together. It's definitely your call. And I'm going to have to lean in a little bit just to make sure I'm centered. I apologize. That looks pretty good. So it doesn't look quite so dwarfed in that opening now, which I think is really a nice feature to it. And some double-sided tape, there it is. And we'll go ahead and attach that in the center of our card. There we go. So nice, easy card. I've got my sentiment exactly what I wanted to say, and I don't think it looks dwarfed, and I've got a really pretty accented edge from the stamp that matches it. I think that's a nice card. I know I would love to receive this card.